members of the General Assembly this morning on legalizing marijuana for personal use. The time to legalize personal use of marijuana has come.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to WN420 because regular news is boring. I'm Lance Storm, and today we're going to be talking about, well, marijuana, of course, or cannabis, because marijuana is its slave name, and that's so burnt. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It'll help the world know that we're making cool videos. Patreon's a really great place to discover new artists and other YouTube channels, as well as being able to support the YouTube channels that you enjoy. Why should we hit subscribe? Because you don't want us to get canceled like your favorite TV shows of the past. WN420 is not going to give up, and we're not going to fade away. As long as I have red jelly coursing through my veins, we have the opportunity to grow. YouTube's new monetization issue of 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subscribers within the last year has hit everybody incredibly hard. However, we're not going to let it hold us back. Here are our current stats and what we need to hit by the 20th of February. Today we're going to highlight a video out of Illinois where the lawmakers are going to discuss how detrimental the prohibition of marijuana is to our society.
I understand that this is a complex issue, one that requires thoughtful discussion, especially as states and municipalities are trying to assert their own rights while the federal government has shifted its position with the change in administration. As president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, I support legalization, and here's why. It no longer makes sense to support drug policies that disproportionately affect communities of color at high cost to the taxpayers. Legalizing the use of marijuana will positively impact my administration's ongoing efforts to right-size our criminal justice system, and even more importantly, allow us to begin to address the racial disparities that infect the entire criminal justice system. As County Board President, I oversee the criminal justice system from the jail to the courthouse, and Cook County has the largest consolidated court system and the largest single-site jail in the country. And what we see in prosecution and punishment of nonviolent marijuana users is that the people who are most often involved in the criminal justice system are black and brown. By the way, the use of illicit drugs is pretty much uniform across racial groups, so the disparity in prosecuting black and brown young people in particular is quite startling. Rarely do we see white college students or young professionals, suburban high school students, or their prosperous parents arrested or detained for the use or possession of marijuana. Maybe it's easy for the general public to ignore this disparity, but it shouldn't be. We cannot and should not ignore it. Our communities are informally divided into zones where marijuana arrests are made and those areas where they don't happen. In 2016, a report by the Chicago Sun-Times on the disparate impact of marijuana enforcement cited East Garfield Park, which is predominantly black, and has the highest rate of arrests and ticketing for marijuana possession, 72 times greater than in the predominantly white Edison Park area, which ranks last. Drug use does not shape the pattern of enforcement, race does. As a parent and now grandparent of African American teenagers, I always counsel them not to smoke pot, and not out of overwhelming health concerns. My strongest argument is that it can get you arrested. I always told my children, and now I tell my grandchildren, that if they encounter the police, they should behave like members of the choir. Yes, sir, no, smart comments that could easily be misinterpreted. My youngest, who is college age, went to visit one of her friends up at Northwestern. And she came back and she said, "Mom, you won't believe it. The kids walk up and down the street smoking dope and nobody says anything." I said, "Yes, Jenny." And then she said, "You know, if my friends and I did this in our neighborhood, we'd be arrested." And I said, "Yes, Jenny." As a government executive, I also have financial concerns to consider. Public safety and health care costs are 89% of our budget in Cook County, and as we strive to preserve and protect our communities, we need resources. We waste millions of dollars on prosecuting residents for low-level drug charges, including possession of small amounts of marijuana that are often dropped before or at trial. These practices stress our criminal justice system and do nothing, absolutely nothing, to make our communities safer. Legalizing the use of cannabis will enable our public safety agencies to redirect their efforts to prosecuting crimes that are real and significant threats to public safety. If marijuana is legalized and taxed, it would provide resources for local governments to financially support social safety net programs across the board. We should not have to pick and choose our community investments. We could pay for drug rehabilitation for chronic addicts to forge a path to sobriety, economic development programs for impoverished neighborhoods, and fund anti-violence organizations to give our children a brighter future. In conclusion, legalizing marijuana is an important step in right-sizing our criminal justice system, reducing racial disparities in prosecuting nonviolent drug offenses, targeting our scarce resources on prosecuting violent crime, and lessening the social dislocation we see in so many of our communities. We cannot afford to let long-standing stereotypes about who uses marijuana and why prevent us from finding common-sense solutions on behalf of all of our residents. The time to legalize personal use of marijuana has come.
Rah, and the crowd goes wild because it's far past time for legalization. A complete standing ovation to you. We applaud you. Thank you for saying these words that you have knocked out. It's a real thing. Cannabis marijuana should be called cannabis because, let's be honest with it, marijuana is its slave name, and it's time to step past all those stereotypes. It's time to stop putting the weight of racial disparity on a plant. It's time for us to start acting like humans and respect one another. I could go on about this forever, and instead of doing that, I'm just going to say, let's start treating one another equally and as respectfully as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Lance Storm. This is WN420, and please stay beautiful, stay positive, and have a wonderful day. See you later.